very, very soon. Okay, guys, this is Fight Commentary Chats, and we got Coach Paris. A lot of you recognize him from my main channel, and Coach Paris is now in Colorado, but he's the guy who got me back into striking. So I've been wanting to feature him, and I finally decided let's do it. So Coach Paris tuning in from Colorado. I am in DC with my family, and Coach Paris has a few black belts. He's tried almost everything. He's basically done the journey that I've been aspiring to do. So sort of I'm walking in his footsteps in a way. So, anyways, welcome, Coach Paris.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
So
Thanks for having me.
yeah, I don't know if people know the beginning of your journey because we featured you once you're Mr. Coach Paris, but we'll start a little bit in the beginning. So you started Taekwondo in high school, right? If I'm not mistaken, or was it
No,
college?
no.
Mm-hmm.
I'll back it up. But
Okay.
just to clarify, this isn't me bragging, but
Mhm.
this is I have 6 black belts.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I started in 1985 when I was 6 years old
Oh.
at a YMCA gym in Beverly Hills. And I
Oh.
started Taekwondo there. So my parents divorced when I was little, and one of the last memories I have of them together is my green belt test at the YMCA when I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
I was 6 when I was 7. It was pretty funny. But yeah, so no, I picked up. I started training in 1985. In high school, I went. I was at Jun Chung Taekwondo in LA, and then I went to a WTF school. WTF. Well, they used the WTF rules. So Chung was ITF, and then I switched to WTF, and that's where I picked up my first black belt when I was 18. But I had been doing Taekwondo since '85. This school, that school, on again, off again, all that stuff. So as soon as I got my first black belt, which was in 1996, graduated high school, got my first black belt. I went right into Tai Chi because at that time, Street Fighter 2 was a thing. It was very popular. I like to play video games. I don't know if it's with most martial arts, but a lot of martial arts that I know, especially back then, we all played video games too. So I was like, dude, let's go find out about this Chi thing. So instantly started Tai Chi. And then I got kicked out of there after a year. I studied Tai Chi under Terry Dung, Heavenly Healing, Flying Phoenix Qigong, and Chen Men Ching Tai Chi. I got kicked out of there after a year because he's like, well, you're not going to mix Taekwondo and Tai Chi.
Oh,
already
you're seeing that cultishness when you're little.
Already got started, exactly. Yeah. So he kicked me out of there, and then I went to Santa Monica City Junior College, and that's where I started studying Robokai Karate with Daryl Good. I started studying Capoeira with Amin Santo over back when they're in the airport in Santa Monica Airport. And then like about a year later, 98, 99, 98, I started studying with a buddy of mine. His name is Terry Hito. And he was the one who taught me gymnastics. We used to spar. We had a martial arts club on the field in Santa Monica College. So what happened was, at first we were an official club and we did all that. But then, we just kind of dropped. But people would come out and we would just spar random people all the time. It was awesome. And I used to do this thing where I'd be nice if I didn't know who you were, we'd be sparring. We did usually kickboxing rules. So I'd throw a kick to your head, and if you like lightly or I didn't touch you, if you didn't react to it or you just act like it didn't happen and attack me, after that it was on, man. I wasn't trying to knock you out, but I was going to try to rattle your skull a bit. So that was fun. So anyway, I was studying karate, capoeira, and learning how to do flips and stuff like that in 98. And then, let me back up. So then in high school, we had the martial arts club. So I went to Beverly Hills High School. I was a poor kid. I had a 1-bedroom apartment, living with all these kids. So their senior years, they're driving Mercedes and BMWs, and I'm riding a bicycle. So big hit with the ladies. Sarcasm, not at all. My favorite part of high school was the martial arts club. And Billy, who you've had on my channel, Coach Billy, Coach William, he was actually a buddy of mine in that club in high school.
So you two both went to the Beverly Hills High School.
Yes, yes, yes,
Whoa!
yes, yes.
You two must have been a very interesting clique having to deal with some of the other people.
Not really. I was just kind of a martial arts nerd. They were like, he's a nerd, but don't mess with him. He might kick you in the head. So they just
Oh
kind of
man.
left me alone. So, but yeah, it was fun. So we did the martial arts club, and then later in junior college, when everyone else out of Beverly Hills was become lawyer, doctors, and engineers, I was like, let's keep this martial arts journey going. I've just started. So that's when we had the martial arts club in junior college at Santa Monica. So that was a good chunk of learning for me because I got a lot of experience sparring, and I was also learning all these different styles. So the thing I noticed the most was because I was doing capoeira, karate, and acrobatics all at the same time. So I got into capoeira watching the movie Only Is Strong, like everybody else in the '90s at that time, right?
Yep.
Amen, Santo. The capoeira culture was something I wasn't really kind of prepared for, and they also knew me as a martial artist from outsiders, and they weren't that happy with it at that time. So they just kind of made it difficult for me. So I kind of faded in and out of capoeira over the years. I never ranked up higher than a green cord. And my original capoeira name was Comprido, which means long. It was later changed by my friend, who's my current capoeira teacher, to Aranya, which is what I go by now in the capoeira world, which means spider. Yeah, so I was doing that, and then I was studying karate with Daryl Good, Robukai Karate, and let me tell you, that was fascinating.
Yeah, what is Robukai karate for those
So
of us who don't
Robukai
know?
Karate is basically Shotokan Karate sprinkled with a little bit of standing jujitsu. So it's not real
Oh.
jujitsu, but
Yeah, it's the demo jitsu as we
yeah, with the
call it.
wrist locks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and bash the styles without giving some context that I studied. So for example, so I had this thing about Taekwondo, and then I'll get to karate. Every time I got in my black belts, every time I got to a first Dan degree, I left the style, right? So that happened. I got two separate black belts in Taekwondo. One was in Jido Kwan, and then I started teaching Taekwondo professionally, and I got my black belt. Again, he had me retest for my WTF certified black belt first degree. But the thing is I don't agree. Like, I think Taekwondo has a lot of amazing aspects to it, but I don't agree with what they say and what it's always said. And I'm saying this story now about Taekwondo because it applies to karate as well, that this is the final martial art. This is all you need. This is all you need to teach. You don't need to teach anything else. So he says, the Taekwondo guy says, well, we have Taekwondo and we have Hapkido. It's a perfect martial art and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, well, I beg to differ, sir. So I would like to teach part-time and keep training. And for a couple of years, he was like, yeah, okay. And then after he said, no, you have to commit to Taekwondo or you can't teach here. And then I was out.
Jeez.
So,
It's always like that, man.
this is the 90s, man, or early 2000s. That's that mentality.
Yeah.
So jump back into karate. I had started the Taekwondo club at Santa Monica, right? But I started to actually feel it in my knees, throwing kicks and stuff. So I had a good conversation with Daryl Good, who's this big, hulking black guy. He's awesome. I still talk to him. He's like, well, why don't you come down and try karate? I was like, cool. So I did, and it kind of opened my eyes to the traditional aspects of it, and that I really liked. It took me about 5 years to get a black belt from him, which is pretty rare because you can usually get a black belt in like 3 or 4 years. But I think because he knew I was from another style, he made me work harder, which was fun. But I kept kind of noticing that, like, his mentality wasn't go out there and learn other things. It was look how much better mine is than everyone else's. You know what I mean? So, all right. So I got a couple stories for you. So I'm a brown belt, and we're doing a point sparring.
You're a brown belt in karate.
In karate, and I'm not a fan of point sparring. I did one tournament, didn't like it at all. So there's this guy's buddy of mine named Bobby. He's probably 5'7" or 8, but he's this wide. He's like 4 feet wide. So he has us do a little one, match point sparring. So I'm doing it the traditional way, right? They say, ready, go. I jump off. I do a double front kick. I should have scored 2 points. He doesn't count anything. Bobby throws a reverse punch, cracks me. I'm in the air. I fly across the room. I wasn't hurt, but it was just funny. So he got the point. We mixed it up again. and he got the points again, and that was it. I said, okay, I made a mental note. I said, next time we spar, things are going to be a little different. So flash forward, it's maybe 6 months later, he has a spar again. I go completely into Taekwondo mode to the point where I'm in a bladed stance, jumping left and right, forward and back. You know what I mean? Staying very loose. Ready, spar. He moves, spinning back kick. Boom, score the force point. I cracked him good. Ready to go. He twitches, spinning back kick, crack him again. Spinning back kick, 3 spinning back kicks in a row. So then the karate teacher sits there and tries to analyze how to defeat my spinning back kick for like half an hour, right? I'm sorry, it was a jump back kick. He's like, how to like get over it. So I didn't take it personal. It was fine. So I finally get my black belt 5 years later. I'm sparring with another black belt student from another club who comes down. We start sparring. I throw a back spin kick in his face. Boom, crack him with a back spin kick. This time he takes an hour just trying to tell him how to defeat my technique. And I was like, all right, this is getting a little ridiculous here. So I realized that I kind of bruised his ego. And that was kind of the mentality. You know, it wasn't about learning different things. It was about my club and my cult, and let's prove that it's the best, right? And if you're not saying anything, and this is like the 90s, and they're still kind of have that attitude. You know how like they were all shocked when Bruce Lee was like cross training.
Yeah.
They still had that, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, so okay, so I did the karate thing. It's about 2003, and then I'm starting to get a little bit sour towards the whole attitude because, you know, I've noticed this with a lot of karate teachers is that the way to kind of keep you in check is to make these micro adjustments with your kata. If you can spar or not, they don't care because your kata has to be absolutely perfect. You know what I mean? So it just kind of weird. Then I mean, I respect it. Like I said, I think there are some advantages to karate. I think karate builds strong punches, good stances, things like that translate over great to other styles. You know. Yeah. But anyway, so I was starting to kind of get over it. So about 2001, a couple years later, I started dabbling in traditional Japanese swordsmanship. So I went into that for a while and kind of cool. It just came in infrequently to the karate and the capoeira and things like that. And by that time, my teaching at the Taekwondo school, which I started in '99, that ended because, like I said, he says, no, you can't teach part-time and train somewhere else. So that whole thing. So then after that, I was doing the Japanese sword, and I got a black belt in that. Well, they don't have belts, but I got a first-degree black belt shodan in that. And then I went into Bujinkan Ninjutsu.
Oh, so you've done ninjutsu. Wow.
2006, yes. Under Hatsumi. And then I learned all the drama. So, you know, I think everybody knows this, but I'll say it anyways. Whenever you join a martial arts school, you're not just joining the style, you're joining into the drama, right? Who's the head? Who's the that? Blah, 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 blah. So I go into Bujinkan Ninjutsu and I learn about Hatsumi, and all these people and how they hate Frank Dukes and Jian Khan is not as good and blah, 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 blah. So I'm studying it. It's decent. You know, I mean, it's not the worst thing. I think their biggest thing with Bujinkan was about being versatile, where they could kind of pick up any weapon and kind of use it, whether it's empty-handed, you know, a gun, a sword, a knife, which is, you know, it's not a bad thing at all. But then they always used to make this joke, like, so they would spend like weeks or months focusing on, or like a month focusing on one weapon. They'd make a joke, well, nobody actually knows how to use said weapon or whatever. Like, for example, they'll show you how to use a sword, but they're just kind of dabblers. You know what I mean? So then they make a joke, oh, nobody knows how to actually use a sword. I'm like, I don't know if that's true, sir. But so studied Bujinkan for a while with a German guy named Julian, who was around my age at the time. Nice guy. I just, you know, it didn't resonate with me. Just like a lot of the other traditional styles, it just seemed very cultish, and this is the way, and you do it this way because we have 3 samurai schools and 4 ninja schools, and this is the style, and blah, 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 blah. Now, keep in mind my disclaimer, I'm not bashing this style at all. I don't think that's how they all feel. I don't think all karate guys feel how my teacher did, or all Tai Chi. You know what I mean? That was just my personal experience. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of great teachers out there from, you know, every system have open minds. But anyhow, so you test into getting your green belt, and I'm at this point, I'm not feeling it. Like I'm not into Bujinkan, you know, I don't really like it. And out of nowhere, my god sister shows up day of the test, and I'm like, oh, because I want to bail, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, oh, you know what? My god sister's here. I gotta go. I can't take the test. Thanks. There's no problem. And that was it. That was it for me and Jian Khan. So after that, I went down and I helped a friend of mine in San Diego teach his. He's like my older brother. He's a metalhead. He's a taekwondo guy. He used to box, did a little judo. He was like the first version of me. So I went down there to help him run his school from 2009, and then I came back in 2010. And 2010 is when my journey kind of cranked up to 11. So I came back, and that's when my buddies from my martial arts club in college at SMC turned me on to Kyokushin. I said, yeah, okay, I'll do some Kyokushin. So there was a school. I just got my second dan in Kyokushin like a couple weeks back. So under Tom Callahan. That time it was in Santa Monica under Shihan Basi, who's a Goju-Ryu karate guy. So I go down there and start doing Kyokushin, man. And I'm like, dude, this is it. So I was like, in my head, I'm going to mix my boxing. I got that Muay Thai that I studied. I got that Taekwondo. I'm just bringing it all together. Now, you guys notice I'm not saying anything about grappling, right? Because up till then, I said, no, I'm a pure striker, bro. Somebody takes me to the ground, I'll use like pressure points, or I'll do this, or I'll do something like that. Use that karate magic on them. I'm not worried about grappling. So I go into Kyokushin. It's awesome. Having fun, man. I'm thinking, well, I'm at the top. All these years, this is it. And then I run into a person named Elon Strulich. He's a little guy. He's about 5 years younger than me. And he's awesome. Great guy. We're getting along. He starts talking about Filipino martial arts. And then turns out that he's doing it because he's in Kyokushin, right? He just got a ride from the Shihan, which at that time Sensei, Tom Kelly. He picks up Elon, and then he picks up me, and I realized we're neighbors. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I talking to Elon a little bit about Filipino martial arts and other things, and I get his phone number, and so we're starting to hang out. There's actually an old videos you can see of me and him training when I'm very young, short hair, younger, short hair. And then so I'm sitting in his living room one time, and he's like, hey, bro, you want to wrestle? I'm like, sure, you're a little guy. I'll take care of you. I'm like, that time I'm like 180, 190. He's like 160 wet. He's 5'7" or 8 or whatever. I'm 6'2". So ready, go. Boom, boom, boom. We start grappling. Takes me down, taps me out in 30 seconds. I get up. How'd you do that? Let's do it again. We do it again. Boom, boom, boom. Takes me down, taps me out in 20 seconds. Go ahead. I get up. Let's try it again. 10 seconds. What is that called? It's like, that's BJJ, bro. And I was like, dude, I need to learn it. So I get hooked into BJJ, and that's just the thing. So I'm doing Kyokushin and BJJ under him, no-gi, and I'm doing a little Filipino martial arts. Year goes by, I get my black belt in Kyokushin, about a year and a half. So the reason why I got my black belt so quickly in Kyokushin was because I already knew how to strike, and I knew half the kata system. So Kyokushin, the kata system is based on Shotokan katas, which I did in Robokai, and Goju-Ryu katas, which I had to learn. So year and a half, boom. I learn it. I get my my black belt. I'm sitting pretty, starting to get that jiu-jitsu thing. Everything's great. And then I get two crazy pieces of information. One, my jiu-jitsu teacher, Elon, is actually going to move out of state. So he says, come with me to the Inosanto Academy because that's where I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I said, you got it. Information two, my Kyokushin teacher says, Barris, and this is like 6 months after I got my Shodan. He says, you're athletically, you could really test for that Nidan, but I really need you to show something that says you're dedicated towards Kyokushin. I don't think you should be doing BJJ and Kyokushin at the same time. And I was like, well, it's not a choice. Thank you very much for the memory, sir. And I was out. So, no more Kyokushin, just BJJ. So I go to the Inosanto Academy, and I start studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gi. So funny story. So up until my first day of gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I had been doing no gi. And I go and I grapple thinking I'm going to do okay. They kicked my ass so bad that I was driving home crying. Like, it was, I didn't get hurt. It was just my pride was hurt because I'd invested a year and I just did horrible, man. But I came back, dude. I was hooked, just into it and doing the jiu-jitsu thing. So I was doing jiu-jitsu about 4 or 5 times a week, 3 times gi, 2 times, 1 time no gi. And then I was studying kickboxing, Muay Thai under Kathy Long. That was awesome. And I was doing Filipino martial arts under Elon. So that was it, man. I was living the dream. We're doing our stuff. And that pretty much stay the way it was. So the capoeira kind of fell by the wayside. The Japanese sword, I did it. I ended up getting a third dan in it, but then I stopped right around the time I stopped doing Kyokushin. Just, like, I love Kyokushin. I think it's a great style, but I think you can't puff your chest out and say we are the toughest karate, and at the same moment say, but you can't punch me in the face, and you
Yeah.
can't clinch, and you can't grapple. You know what I mean? Because the number one, two, and three things you do when you get engaged in a street fight is A, you punch in the face, B, you clinch and you grapple, C, you take it to the ground. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, I mean, why is there going to be an entire style where you can't punch into the face, you can't clinch, you can't do any of that? You know what I mean? So, well, that being said, though, Kyokushin makes that body tough, makes those pocket fighting tough, makes those arm, those hand punches, those body punches very strong. I love the conditioning. I just, I just think that if you're going to claim you're the toughest striking style, then you need to use the toughest striking style rules, which we all know is Muay Thai. You have to be allowed to clinch, you have to be allowed to elbow, you have to be able to knee. None of these things they were doing. So they have this thing called Shinken Shobu in Kyokushin where you punch in the face, but you still can't clinch, and it's still a point system. You still can't go time. They still give you 3 points. It's just the shots actually, if you get your bell wrong, they call that a point. So it's better, but let's just put it this way. In my Kyokushin, we're doing Muay Thai rules all the time. Like that's it. There's nothing else. It's just Muay Thai rules, But anyhow, so flash forward. So everything's doing great. I'm doing the Inosanto training with my teacher Pat. By this time, Elon has moved away, but I still talk to him via Zoom, all that stuff. And I am this time. So I was a white belt for 8 months, and then I was a blue belt for 4 years. So usually you're supposed to do it for 2. So I've been competing, doing all that, and turns out more drama. Inosanto Academy kicks out my teacher. So there were 2 teachers. I was much closer to Pat, who's my competition coach, than Gary, who was the head teacher there. Well, they tell Pat that we can't do no-gi anymore. We can't do striking sparring, and we can't compete without me signing on a thing, signing on the dotted line saying I'm endorsed. Yeah, more drama.
And I've met Pat, man. He's so soft-spoken. It's so sad that it had to happen to him. He's such
I know,
a
right?
soft-spoken dude.
And it was great, man. We had good momentum, Yeah. So give you a little background on the Inosanto Academy. So the Inosanto Academy kind of wasn't what it was. It was a fighter school, and then they stopped being a fighter school when they moved to their location, Marina Del Rey. I get it, because fighter schools don't make that much money, and there's a lot of pulse, there's a lot of BS and things like that you have to deal with as a fighter school, and you don't make that much money. So they kind of transitioned out of it. Guru Dan, is an awesome guy. His wife takes over and runs the whole thing. He just kind of shows up when he needs to. We were one of the few schools, few classes, I should say, where we were sparring, like we were rolling. So there's a Shudo class in there. The guys didn't roll much. And so I'll tell you this story. So basically, the great guy's named Harlan. He's a Shudo instructor. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. They ran the Shudo class downstairs. We were upstairs, and they did a lot of drills, but they didn't do that much rolling, like at all. Okay. So Harl, at this time, I'm a blue belt. He's a purple belt. Now, keep in mind, I'm taller than Harlan. So this isn't me. This isn't a brag story. This is just, it is what it is. Harlan had been spending more time drilling than he had rolling. So he rolls with me. I tapped him. He says, let's roll again. I tapped him again, right? And it wasn't that I was necessarily better. It was just that he didn't spend enough time rolling, right? He spent time drilling. If you're just having someone who drills, and you have someone who's rolling all the time, the person rolling is going to win. You know what I mean? So after that, he learned his lesson. We saw him all the time, and we kept stalemating, and he got me a few times. But it really opened my eyes as to the debate in grappling. What's more important, drilling or rolling? You know what I mean? But by the other side of that, right? You don't want to just roll and never drill. So there's that balance.
Yeah.
Because then you just learn things slow as well.
Yeah. And you probably learn bad habits too if you only roll.
100%. 100%. So anyway, so we all get kicked out of there. And then I go over to Pat School, which is in El Segundo. I started training there. So that's when I got my purple, my brown belt there. And
Mm.
then I was teaching martial arts. I was teaching like Taekwondo kind of karate stuff to the kids there. I had free, so about I could study at Pat's class. And so that's going great. Everything's cool. Everything's cool there. So 2 years go by, right? 2015, 16, 17. And then I start prepping one of his students. You remember Kelly?
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
Kelly.
So I started prepping her for tournaments, right? Doing the thing, prepping her for tournaments. And I told her, I said, look, still go to your class. Don't just stick with me. I'm just trying to help you get ready for tournaments. And then it's the AM. It's early. This has been happening for about 6 months. She's been winning some tournaments. It's good. So I think her pops posted something on Facebook. And I get this text message that says, Paris is no longer allowed to train at our school. And I'm like, why? He's like, because you're trying to steal my students. I was like, that's the exact opposite. I was like, I didn't want her to compete and not be ready. He says, regardless, it's in, you're done. So I got banned, and that was the end of that. So
And yeah, this actually is interesting because I met you around this time. And then
yeah.
very soon after I met you, you told me that you're not allowed at Pat's gym. So this kind of finally, I didn't realize it was over the Kelly thing. I thought it was actually related to the Inosanto stuff. But so this was just
No,
over the Kelly thing. Wow.
no. Yeah, the install thing was done, dude. So
Wow.
so now I'm like scratching my head, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm a brown belt, I need to do something. So I went on Indeed.com, saw MMA, looking for MMA teacher at Max Impact. So I, applied, met him. Great guy, James Silverio, still there at Max Impact. He takes me in, and I'm teaching kickboxing and jiu-jitsu there. Loving it, having a great time, man. So then, I'm out around that time, 2019, met the wife, did my black belt test with James, got the black belt. All that stuff is good. I was still talking with my competition coach, Pat, for a bit. And then he says, hey, why don't you come down to combat base and all this stuff. So I actually was going to combat base on the weekends while teaching at Max Impact. So that was good.
So you and Pat were like cool, but not cool. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, you guys could train together at combat base under his coach, but like he just didn't want you to go to his school because he felt like you were gonna outshine him or something.
Yeah, but I didn't have any hard feelings against Pat. I just wish he would have spoke up for me. Mm-hmm. And in the end, he ended up getting kicked out of there a year later.
Oh wow! Oh no!
Same guy, same reason. So I think that guy, he just kind of didn't like, got his panties all in a bunch and didn't like other styles there.
I see. Now that you mention it, I remember the school that Pat was using, the place in El Segundo. It had other things there. Now that I remember,
it's World Karate.
So that's what it was.
Yeah, yes. I was teaching. It's funny, it wasn't actually karate at all. But whatever.
Yeah, karate's one of those words that has a ring.
Yeah, I'm not gonna slam the guy. So anyhow, so me and Pat were cool. So then I'm teaching for James. He gets him. You were there testing for my black belt. Got my black belt. And then combat base became my final home with Melissa and Chris. They're awesome. And they just took me into the combat base family. They said, come on down and roll. I did. They said, yep, you're recertified your black belt. You're under us now. Mm-hmm. So that happened. So then met the wife, got married and moved out of LA. Oh, but I forgot. So there was something that awesome happened while I was at World Karate was I started studying Savate.
So that's when you started studying Savate.
Yes. I see. Now let me tell you something. Savate, it was the easiest style for me to transition to because it's Taekwondo kicking with boxing hands, right? It's just they kick low, their combos are different, their ideas are different, but it's the same mentality. You know what I mean? So I did Muay Thai with Kathy Long and also with Crew Joe. I did that Muay Thai in 2010 under Crew Joe at 80 Boxing. Savate was an easier transition just because how it moved and how fluid. I think anybody who does Taekwondo just go right into Savate, man. You won't miss a beat. They use good hands, all that stuff. I love Savate. I'm a big fan of it. So I was doing that at World Karate. So I'm actually a yellow glove in Savate. I just trying to get the silver, but there's not much Savate down here, So,
yeah.
But yeah, but I discovered Savat or World Karate, and man, it's been with me. And I speak to Nicholas often, keeping my Savat going. So it was great. So
Mhm.
yeah. So anyhow, so then I met the wife, moved out to Colorado, and basically I worked for a PMA, Premier Martial Arts. Right. So that's how they got me out here. It's a bit of a McDojo, but
Mhm.
let's clarify that subject for a second. What is a McDojo? I'm going to break it down for you. A McDojo is anybody who can't actually name their lineage, right? So if you ask me, what are the styles that you studied? Well, I studied Robokai under Daryl Good. I studied Kyokushin under Tom Callahan. I studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Chris Howder. You know what I mean? I even studied Tai Chi under Terry Dunn. This is the lineage. If you can't say what your lineage is and the styles that you teach, even if you just say, oh, we teach kickboxing, where's your kickboxing come from? Well, mine came from Crew Joe and Kathy Long. You know what I mean? If you can't say your lineage, then you're teaching BS. You know, you're just doing it for the money. So that's in my opinion, that's what a McDojo is. It's a system. It's a school where they can't specify what their lineage is. So, yeah. So then I moved out to Colorado, worked at PMA. The PMA opens in July. So basically, I moved down there in January. Where I'm teaching out of an office, learning that the PMA, the Premier Martial Arts curriculum, how to do it, recruiting kids. We're in a temporary office. The dojo opens up in June, right? Beautiful big dojo. Closes in December.
Oh wow. Oh
Yeah, dude.
no. Whoa.
But no, it's fine because I like a week before Christmas, he says, "All right, the dojo's closing forever." The owner does. It's okay. So I make the announcement and say, "Listen up, guys. The dojo's closing in a week, but I have a basement dojo. You guys are welcome to come down." So I took like 30 students. We had like 60. I took like 30 students down, lost about 10 of them, and we transitioned. So at first I was teaching kickboxing and then jiu-jitsu. Nobody wanted to hang with kickboxing. They all wanted to do jiu-jitsu. So what's been going on since then is I've been teaching jiu-jitsu, and my old Kyokushin teacher, Tom Callahan, is here in Colorado.
Oh.
And I got together with him and his wife, me and mine, went down there, ate, had a great conversation. And even then, he was saying, "Yeah, you have to choose between Kyokushin and BJJ." I was like, "Oh, okay." But then, about I guess last year, he didn't say that anymore. The only thing he said was, "Come down to my Kyokushin, my yearly Kyokushin camp." I said, "You got it." So I'm off the bench, back in Kyokushin, took the camp, and then been doing Kyokushin ever since. And he hasn't had any stipulations about having to choose anything, because teaching BJJ is how I make money. So,
Yeah.
but I think he's brought a lot more MMA people into his associations. I think his opinions on that whole thing
That's
has
good.
changed. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. I
But
mean, it takes time, right? For everyone, it takes
it's
time. If
fine,
they're
dude.
capable of change, even if it takes 10 years, we give them credit.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So now I got that second down in Kyokushin. And I'm gonna go for my third if he allows me next year for the test. But my mentality has not changed. When I run a Kyokushin class, it's my deal. We are doing kickboxing rules. Like I think we can do Kyokushin style sparring. It's good for conditioning. I think it's great for conditioning and you being comfortable in the pocket. But when I'm going to solve all the problems with Kyokushin very easily just by saying we're doing Muay Thai rules. You can clinch, you can elbow, you can knee. You know what I mean? So, like I have this vision in my head. Like if I ever did like a Muay Thai match, right? Come out my Kyokushin thing. They go do the Y crew in the corner. I go do a quick little kata. I love that. And then you go for it. But I really think it's important that martial arts striking styles stop having such limiting rules. So the thing is, like, for example, Taekwondo, right? They have amazing kicks. They have amazing kicks because of the rule set, and I respect that. I get it. Like, you need the rule set, but at a certain point, you got to grasp reality. Like, you can't stay with that rule set. Once you've developed what you need to realize, the rest of the striking martial arts world punches to the face, does clinching, does knees, does all this stuff, right? And, I'll even take a jab at Muay Thai people. Like, Muay Thai people puff their chests out. We are the strongest martial arts style. Until you take them to the ground, then it's, oh, no, where's the ref? This isn't allowed. You can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, and, BJJ is the same way. we got grappling, we're really good. So you start throwing punches. No, you can't throw punches in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So after a certain point, you gotta like let the you gotta let the rules go, because it's like scaffolding for building you who you are. But you need to go out there. I mean, UFC is the only sporting event I watch. I don't really watch grappling too much unless it's my students like competing or whatever. But UFC, right? UFC 1 through 10, right? 1 through 10. That answered all the questions you needed to know about martial arts, right? Every style went in there, okay? And
With the exception of Shuto. You were the one that pointed out Shuto
it's
didn't
true.
go in.
It's true. Well, see,
Shuto and Kudo never went in.
yeah, 100%. Well, but here's the thing, and I'm not a fan of Bill Superfoot Wallace, and I have a couple of martial arts celebrity stories I'll share for you after.
Mm-hmm.
But he was saying how it's a scam. The Gracies did a scam and a marketing guy, and I don't think it was a scam. I think it was about pure martial arts versus pure martial arts. The Gracies knew just who they were gonna fight, because they had to prove that jiu-jitsu could do the things that it could do, right? And they knew that it was better to prove that against people who didn't know anything about grappling. I get that, you know what I mean? I get that, and I have a whole Gracie thing I'll go into too. But that being said, you look at the UFCs, right? UFC 2 was pretty epic because they actually got the karate bad boy who came down from Japan, like straight Japanese karate killer, right? Went up against Gracie. Gracie took him down in 2 seconds, I mean, that was the reality that people didn't want to accept, I mean, things have changed now. You look at Kron Gracie, like he was straight out of the 90s, his last fight. It didn't work. Things evolved. But the point was that hanging out in your own little world, it doesn't work. You got to keep broadening your horizons, and it's a balance, because if you're too much of a jack of all trade in the beginning, you never master anything. You're just decent at it. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get good, but when you get all comfortable in your style, and it's a nice warm blanket, that's when you move on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah, that was it, man. So currently I'm teaching jiu-jitsu, and I do a little kickboxing and all that on the side. I still keep up my Japanese store, doing Kyokushin with my teacher, and I do a little bit of Tai Chi, just recreational, just to keep the joints going. I've been lucky. I haven't had any serious injuries. Only thing I had a twisted, dislocated elbow from doing gymnastics, and I had a gangrene burst appendicitis that had a 1% survival rate, but that had nothing to do with martial arts.
Wow.
Unless somebody hit me with the death touch, and I didn't know.
Exactly. Maybe that was from the death touch, the appendicitis,
Yeah. But yeah, so I remember back in the day, man, I kept calling myself, I am a pure striker, but then Elon. So I ran into a couple people that were grapplers that tried to open my eyes, and I just didn't want to do it. But Elon was number 3, and he was a magic number, dude. After that, I was hooked.
And first of all, shout out Elon. Talk about Elon. He told me he's going to get you on his channel soon too. So
that's great.
Yeah, you're gonna be on his channel. But I'm really happy for success. I remember when you introduced me to him after your black belt test, right? I was encouraging him. Well, you got to do it. And finally, 2 years after I encouraged him, I hope I was one of the people, kind of like how he got you into grappling. I was one of the people who got him into YouTube. I hope.
I would imagine. Well, yeah, dude, his channel's blowing up, bro.
Yeah.
So what's it about Elon? Elon is. He's an interesting guy, dude. He's one of those guys. Like, he was a Hollywood actor, he just did it all. He just wore so many hats and just kicked ass at all of them. I never once heard him complain or whine about a system or a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, just tough as a brick shit house. But great guy. Very small ego. He always wants to learn, always wanted to learn. I'm lucky that I crossed paths with him, because he changed the trajectory of my martial arts, So I remember when I was at Kyokushin and I had met Elon, and then we started talking about BJJ. I had this choice. I was like, okay, so at the school, Shihan Basi teaches Goju-Ryu. So I had this choice. I could either go into Goju-Ryu, because I'd already got my Kyokushin black belt. Take me a few months, and then I'll get a black belt from Kyokushin and in Goju-Ryu, and I'll be like 2 karate black belt guy, or 3 actually with Robokai. Or start this whole journey over, start from a white belt and do jiu-jitsu. And Elon was one of the ones who just influenced me to just, climb up that mountain instead of kind of resting on your laurels on just doing more karate. So yeah, man, I love him to death. Like, he was the one that changed it all for me. To open my eyes. So But he's a great guy. He made a system based on Kali, which I studied under him, Filipino martial arts, Sambo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai. He's just one of those Renaissance men. He just, it lined up for him early. So it's funny right now on his channel, he's like getting into Taekwondo and talking about Taekwondo and all this stuff. And I think that is hilarious because we have dynamically switched places.
Yeah, exactly. What I like about what he's doing is he's basically, I can think of what Alon's doing is what sort of the Kesey system, what the Defense Lab system, I think originally aimed to be. But the Kesey and the Defense Lab stuff got too fancy once they sort of got the Hollywood treatment, right? And then, but like what Elon is doing, like a lot of Elon's stuff, like I don't remember the different names.
Rhino, Rhino,
yeah, like a lot of his stuff is very. How do you take your natural instincts, combine what works through whether the FMA or the Muay Thai, and be able to react in a way that protects yourself? I felt like that's what sort of KZ and what Defense Lab was trying to do originally before they started choreographing really badly the Batman movies.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Like his tactics were awesome. I don't know where he came up with it. He's just one of those guys, man. But yeah, I love his tactical fighting. It's the best, like the Rhino and all that.
Yeah,
because you would think he'd have that wrestler mentality, just take the shot and come in, but the Rhino and all that is just the best.
Yeah, how do you protect your head without kind of because as we know, without the gloves, it's hard to just be like this, right?
Yeah.
So he has all these other.
You can't shell up with no gloves. I mean, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like when I was training with him when Elon was in LA, we were doing MMA style sparring, but smart MMA style, right? We had the gloves. You would go light to the head and harder to the body. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome. Like that's kind of taking the best of Kyokushin, but having that street reaction. Like that's how you build efficient and smart and longevity in fighters.
Yeah.
Not that Dutch kickboxing idea. Let me treat you like a bag and punch you as hard as I can in the head.
Yeah.
So, and I'll say the main culprit of that to me is movies and cartoons and video games. Because you see it, you can only get stronger by sparring as hard as you can. That's not real life. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Like you definitely need to spar. And people should get their bell rung, but not repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like you got to know how to take a shot, but
Yeah, and you got to know that the body can come back, but you also don't want that proven to you too many times.
Yeah, this is why I lucked out never actually studying boxing in a boxing school, never studying kickboxing in a kickboxing school, because both of those schools have very big meathead philosophies.
Yep.
Which is I'm going to bash your brains in.
Yep.
To get ready for whatever it is coming my way. And I don't think that's the right mentality personally.
Yeah. And
I think, go on.
No, go ahead.
I think the jiu-jitsu mentality is actually the best mentality. Everybody fights. The teacher's got to roll. You know what I mean? And if you don't, people really aren't going to respect you. Like I plan on striking, sparring, and grappling until, my heart gives out. That's how I teach. And if one of my students can beat me, that's great. I'm not going to go cry about it. I'm like, that's awesome. That's going to help me become better. So now I've raised you up. So now help me to get better. Like that's the mentality. So I guess it's easier to have that with jiu-jitsu, but I have that in boxing. I have that in kickboxing. Like in my opinion, if you can't control yourself, if you can't box without trying to knock someone's head off, right? You're not a good boxer. If you can't kickbox without having control, you're not a good kickboxer. It's a shame because me and Nico, remember that video? You were there in Nico's kickboxing gym in Korea. Like we had a great time, but we just got torn to shreds on the comments on YouTube.
I know. It was so ridiculous. It really, that's actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just talking about that the other day with some other neighbors of mine who also do either kickboxing or boxing, right? And they're smart, kind of controlled sparrers. But what I should have realized in that the comments of that video was what I realized many years later, which actually got me to almost hate my YouTube channel for a little bit, which is that the majority of people who are watching will never train. That's why they didn't understand that video. And for a while, I was like, oh, I hate this audience then. If like 90% of them will never train, they're just going to talk smack in the comments. But eventually I calmed down and I sort of embraced it. I'm like, well, that means I know more than 90% of my audience. That's awesome in a way. That shows I put in work, right? So I turned it around and kind of thought about it that way. But for a while, I had the exact thought after you first saw those comments, but it took me a few years later when I realized, oh wow, the majority of my audience just spouts stuff. They don't understand anything.
Well, I'll tell you something hilarious is that, I'm a fan of Jeff Chan's, right? I actually reached out to him to do a collab, but I couldn't afford it. So, but
He
Jeff
wanted
Chan
to charge you, or more like you just couldn't fly to Canada?
No, he said I to. Well, look, I don't want to. Maybe we shouldn't do that live.
Okay, no worry. You can tell me later.
We can talk about it later.
Yeah.
But he's still a great guy. Love his
Mhm.
channel. But he spars light, and people love it. Like he will spar hard, but he'll spar light, and his audience is all about it, dude. So what I realized the problem with YouTube and with social media is it's a popularity contest, right? We were not popular enough where the audience would accept that we were sparring light and having technical sparring. You know what I mean? Like we weren't popular enough for that for whatever reason. So, and that's the other thing that kind of irritates me about modern martial arts is that people won't take me at my skill level. They want to know, am I YouTube famous? Am I Instagram famous? How many followers do you have? That says if you're a good martial artist. And that's the biggest bullshit ever.
Yeah.
The only thing that says you're a good martial artist or not is let's spar, let's roll. That's the only thing it is besides how you teach, But like a lot of martial art teachers will take that gymnastics mentality, which is I did it, I don't do it anymore, but I can tell you how to do it. I personally don't respect that. That's why I love jujitsu, right? Jujitsu, you have to roll unless you have some catastrophic injury, you know what I mean? Or you're like a world champion or whatever. Like you have to roll with your students, right? You have to spar with your students. You got to box with your students. You got to kickbox with your students. You have to do all those things in order to be an actual teacher and for them to know whether you know your stuff or not. But people don't think like that anymore. People think, oh, how internet famous are you? I'll tell you right now, I got married. I got married. I flushed all my social media besides YouTube down the toilet. Good. No social media. It hasn't helped me. I put time and energy into it and it didn't do anything. You know what I mean? So it was just better for me, just word of mouth, shout outs on your channel or, my little YouTube thing. But, I really wish people would get out of this mentality of, oh, you're internet famous. You must be amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, okay, let's go on to some funny stories. You ready?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
So let's
one thing before you tell that story,
Go ahead.
I'll just let audiences know. A lot of you know, including Martial Geeks who's listening, but I'm not on Instagram anymore. Last year I suddenly built more than 10,000 followers on Instagram. I just stopped caring because I realized it wasn't doing me any good. Unlike YouTube where I make money, it doesn't make me any money on Instagram. It's not a waste of time, but from how much time I would spend on it, it was a waste of time. So I just want to make it clear, like for people like Martial Geeks who I do talk to on Instagram, it's fine. But the majority of interactions I had on Instagram weren't like that. And I think Coach Paris had similar experiences with Instagram, which is why to conclude, it was basically a waste of time. And I don't have Instagram on any of my apps anymore. Emergencies, I might log on via the internet, like on the computer, but I totally understand your mentality. Like I'm so much happier without Instagram. Yeah. So there we go.
My wife is an artist. She's an author. She writes books, and she was on Instagram. It didn't do a thing for her sales, So yeah, so I'm happier for it. I mean, now I have that mentality. I guess by the young crowd that I'm creepy because I don't have a social media, but I don't.
No, 100%. I 100% feel you, man. And I guess I'm at the point. Thomas is probably my age too. We're becoming old heads too. So yeah. I'm pretty much in your camp now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just if anybody takes any of the ramblings I'm saying today away, is don't judge a teacher by how YouTube famous they are or Instagram famous. Judge them by the quality of their work. Do they spar? Do they go live? If they spar, are they trying to knock your head off? The sign of somebody who's not very skilled is somebody who can't control themselves, whether it's rolling, whether it's boxing, whether it's kickboxing. You can do clinch fighting with control, right? The only faux pas is if I throw an attack to you and you don't react to it, or you absorb it when I'm going light and you're absorbing my punches and not reacting, that's a faux pas. I'm going to turn up the heat and make you react to it. You know what I mean? But if, so anyways, point is that your instructors need to go live, and they need to go live with control. They need to be able to control themselves and teach. And that's what I did with you. That's what I do with my students, and I'm happier for it. And it's got nothing to do with how many hits I have on Instagram. By the way, I have 0 goose egg because I don't have Instagram. Don't have anything. Don't TikTok, nothing. Right. All right. So anyhow, Okay, funny story. So first one is Benny the Jet Ortiz. Met him at a martial arts convention. Nice guy, decent fellow. You know, he's one of my heroes. I watched all those point karate guys going to kickboxers. It was great. So he says, well, blah, blah, blah. We're having a good rapport. He says, why don't you come down to the dojo? He gives me the dojo. He's teaching at this Hapkido school in the Valley. I said, cool, let's do it. He took down my phone number. I'm like, dude, I got Benny the Jet's number. It's amazing, right? So we set a date for Saturday. He actually ghost-styled me a few times. I thought that was hilarious. Week coming up. So I go down to his school. It's a Hapkido school. I thought that I was weird. Everybody's wearing black karate gis and belts. I'm waiting around for Benny the Jet. I go to the front desk. They're like, he didn't tell us he's coming in today. Like, really? Like, not at all. So I waited around. So, man, an hour and a half goes by. I'm like, all right, he's not going to show. I get it. He's been punched in the head a lot. So I'm on my way out, and at this point I'm a little frustrated. So I go speak to the instructor. When the instructor says, "Oh, so let's go blah 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 blah," I noticed you guys are wearing karate gis. I says, "You know what Hapkido means, right?" Because side note, I speak Japanese, so my kanji reading is horrible, but conversationally I'm okay. So I'm looking at the belts that got embroidered. It says, "You know what Hapkido means, right?" And he says, "The way of the flowing, intercepting." I'm like, no. What the kanji is. He's like, no. I says, it means Aikido. He says, you're teaching Aikido with a karate black belt on. You know what I mean? Then I took off. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. And just to back up what Paris says, even if you took the kanji and translated it into Chinese, it's the same thing. Hapkido and Aikido, they're the same exact words. They're the same exact symbols. So it's pretty funny if you don't specify what you're doing, like what exactly style you're doing, people might interpret Hapkido as Aikido. So absolutely, that's a really funny thing that most Americans don't know.
Yeah, they had no clue. That's why I learned Japanese. I was like, well, I mean, I'm in the culture. I said his style. So I went. My mother put me in Japanese school when I was like 9. So I did that for a while. So I'm conversational. I'm not fluent. I'm conversational in Japanese. I can read a bit. Hiragana, katakana. I got my kanjis kind of low. But anyhow, so that was it. I was like, dude, you're teaching Aikido on a karate gi. All right, so another story. So I got a few. So I met Bill Sugarfoot Wallace. I mean, not, what am I saying? I never met Bill Superfoot Wallace. But I did meet Peter Sugarfoot Cunningham. He was a very nice guy. He was cool. I actually ran into him twice. Once when I was pretty young, and then later when I went to this martial arts convention, same one I met Benny at, and we were getting along good. And then he was like, "Yeah, we'll come down to the school kickboxing. We'll see what you got." Blah blah blah. Same thing Benny said. So I call up his school saying, "Oh yeah, Peter said for me to come down, Coach Peter." And then he was like, "Yeah, you can come down, and the price is this, like $300 for a private, $200 for a thing." So that invitation got reneged. So that happened twice.
Man, every time you think you're building rapport, and it's not real rapport.
I get it, but I mean, in their head, I'm a nobody coming off the street. I just wanted a shot. Like, I just want to go down and throw some techniques. Like, I'll let my technique do the talking for me. You know what I mean? But it never happened. So the only kickboxing legend who I get along really well with is Nicholas Singaki. He is awesome, and he's a great guy, and he's doing his thing. Let me see here. So tell a couple other stories for you. So let's go back to the martial arts club. We in Santa Monica College. We used to count how many people we would cause to run away, come in for a sparring, and never come back. I think I was up to like 30 people. Now keep in mind, I was always nice about it, right? I always would throw the light head kick when they ignored it or act like it didn't happen. Then I turned the heat up. But that was always funny, counting how many people I got to never come back. That was a good one. But all right, okay. So Jerry, you got any stories for me or any questions?
Yeah, I can tell you a pretty funny one. This actually, this relates to our buddy Alex. So, our buddy Alex, did you see the one I did with him in Aikido? The one where we're doing the exercises with the ball and stuff?
Yeah.
So this was actually a pretty funny thing. So originally, I think the video turned out okay. Originally, he wanted to go full force on me. And I told him, I'm like, this can't show anything because it's gonna be like a compliant drill. I'm gonna go like 20%, and then you're gonna do full force and do Aikido on me. That's why the video turned out different. Like it became more like, okay, we're gonna both do this type of drill thing, right?
Yeah.
Originally, he's like, okay, Jerry, you do this, and then I'm gonna show you Aikido. And then I'm like, yeah, but you're going 100% on a 20% thing because I don't know what you're doing. I'm not gonna go 100% on you. You're gonna take this 20%, not understand that it's 20%. You're gonna go 100%. So I thought he understood this, right? And all credit to Alex for finally understanding this. So, like, I'm not telling this to make fun of Alex. This is a common martial artist journey. That's why I'm explaining this. So, I thought he understood this back when we made the video. So, a few months ago, it sort of happened again where I have a Muay Thai neighbor who's really into Muay Thai. Alex wanted to say, I wanted to show you Aikido, man. Oh, okay. So, Alex did the same thing he did to me, which is the Muay Thai guy was going 20%. Alex was going almost like 80% on him Aikido wise. And eventually the guy got frustrated. He did exactly what Coach Paris did. He started dialing it up. And at one point, he kicked Alex so hard in the body, I heard it. Like I was sitting there kind of watching, I heard it. And then so I got up, I'm like, I'm gonna have to ref this in case it gets rough, right? So I'm there, I'm like, now I'm involved. And then Alex gets kicked again. You heard it even more. And then Alex is like, no, okay, you win. So I
I
want to
love
tell
it.
the story to further emphasize what Coach Paris just said. When you're soft sparring or when you're technical sparring, you have to acknowledge when a hit at a higher velocity would have done damage to you. You can't just go, okay, we're going soft. Okay, he hit me. I'm going to keep going, right? That is not how you grow from sparring. And that's something that our buddy Alex kind of forgot. And it's not his fault because he hasn't been sparring all these years. Coach Paris left. He hasn't been checking out Muay Thai schools. So he forgot that just because someone jabs at your face and touches you, it means something. It doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to like hug him. It means, oh, okay, in a real life, that would have knocked me back a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's the thing. And so it's funny. While you were saying your story, I just was reminded of this. What I've noticed a lot, the biggest trope about traditional martial arts, and they do it in jiu-jitsu too, but the biggest trope in traditional martial arts is, I want you to throw a punch in my face. Now watch all these cool combinations that I do, right? I want you to throw this punch, and now I'm going to do all of this stuff, right? And the worst aspect of that is throw something in my face, they'll react, and then crack you really hard in the body or whatever, That is not the way you teach martial arts, right? You can't just overindulge in that one aspect. You throw the punch, I know how to counter. You got to go live, right? And traditional styles don't like going live, or if they do go live, they make the rules very convoluted and ridiculous. You know what I mean?
It goes back to that Tai Chi video we did. You remember that one where
100%.
It's like, oh, you can't use force, you can't move your feet, but I can use force and I can move my feet. So when are we learning?
Dude. And I mean, and that, that is my problem with like the East Asian martial arts is so many rules, man. Too many rules. Like I think Sanda, I got it right. I think Chinese kickboxing is awesome. I don't know so much about Chinese wrestling, but I just know a lot of the Eastern martial arts just have rules up to the wazoo. Can't do this, can't do that. Like judo is a shadow of itself, Yeah. It's a shadow of itself because of all the rules. Oh, this is now outlawed.
You can't double leg anymore. Oh my God.
I was like, dude, no rules. How about the rule is just be considerate of your opponent, right? Don't eye jab, don't grab for the balls. Other than that, do what you got to do because that's how you learn. Like you can do anything in a controlled environment and then turn the heat up, right? My favorite style of hard sparring is when you crack me as hard as you want in the body, just go lighter to the head. It's perfect. That's great, man. Like, and with grappling, do it. Like I'll have people slam me, go right ahead because if I can't deal with that in the mat, how am I going to deal with it on the street? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like so many rules. So anyhow, and like I said, I mean, jiu-jitsu kind of has rules, right? But I mean, they're not that many compared to judo, right? It's like you can if you're doing point tournament rules, no heel hooks, blah blah blah, no reaping. If you're not, do whatever. If you're doing no-gi, do whatever. Just don't strike. Those are good rules, But when you have like so many rules that you can't do anything, it makes it very hard for it to be effective.
Yeah, exactly. And Paris, since you teased you had a funny Gracie story, can you tell that on air or should we wait for that one?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the thing about the Gracies. All right.
Okay.
So what I'm about to say now is one of my students. He's one of my brown belts. Okay. We're gonna take a little history lesson. Okay. All right. Okay. So, what year did the Japanese judoka come down to Brazil and teach?
I think it was. I don't know. Was it the
Yeah.
40s? Maeda. Let's look.
Yeah. What was his name again?
It was either Maeda or Kano. I think it was probably Kano.
Okay. So he goes down, right, and he teaches. So he actually taught at two places,
Mm-hmm.
right? He taught at the Gracie Manor, the Gracie area, and then he went to the favelas and he taught judo there. Are you aware of this?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's why there's that big rivalry between
Bingo.
the
And that's
favela
what-
judo people and the Gracie
That's
judo
what
people.
I'm going to get into. So
Yeah.
he goes down there. He teaches the rich people, which were the Gracies. And for all of you that don't know, the reason why Gracie Jiu-Jitsu teaches Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is because they made it. You had to have a gi so they could keep poor people out.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that out. That's exactly why the gi originally was there.
That's what it's about. So the Japanese instructor, he goes down and he teaches the Gracies, and he goes to the favelas, so the poor kids, and he essentially is teaching no gi judo, right? All right, so they're both coming up. They're both getting popular. They have a tournament, all right, and I believe it was somewhere between 10 and 12 people, 12 Gracie people versus 12. Their system was actually the luchador. Like, we know luchadors with the mask and flipping. Well, they had the Brazilian luchadors weren't that. They were leg locking jiu-jitsu, no-gi jiu-jitsu heads who really early after that whole thing incorporated boxing and Muay Thai. They had like a complete system way before anybody else, which was crazy. Yeah. Anyways, so they get together and they have this huge tournament. And let me tell you that I think every single one of the Gracies lost. They lost. Most of them lost to footlocks. And when the luchadors would slap on the footlock, the audience starts yelling out, "Shoemaker, shoemaker," like it's an insult or something.
Wow.
Right? Now, the reason why this story is so poignant is because the Gracies are always saying when they're doing Gracie challenges, "Well, study jiu-jitsu. If you lose, study jiu-jitsu." Well, at that time, I think this was in the 50s, okay? At that time, Gracie jiu-jitsu should have been no more. They should have been like, nope, now we're all doing no-gi with leg lock, jiu-jitsu. They didn't. They ignored it. It didn't happen. Never happened, all right? So the Gracies are not above smelling their own farts. They completely ignored it and were just like, no, it didn't happen. Gracie jiu-jitsu is still the best. And that, to me, in my opinion, I think that's funny because they're telling everyone else that, and they didn't evolve, right? They're still doing what they did, which is why Kron didn't do so hot in his last UFC. You know what I mean? Because they just had their thing. Look, I respect the Gracies. They made jiu-jitsu popular. They made it big. They made it what it is today. I still think they're awesome at it. But I think it's funny that they didn't take their own advice,
Yeah.
And the old joke was, if you want to beat a Gracie, get him in a footlock.
Yeah. I think finally they're incorporating leg locks now. I think all jiu-jitsu systems are starting to teach leg locks now. But like you said, it should have been like 50 years ago, but it took this long for Eddie Bravo, giving him credit, for Eddie Bravo to come along, for it to kind of re-evolve again when it should have evolved a long time ago.
That's 60, 70 years. You know what I mean? Like, they should have been doing it. But
yeah, exactly. So 2 names to follow up on what Coach Paris was saying. Luis França, that's one guy, and then Oswaldo Fada. Those are 2 people from another Maeda lineage that isn't a Gracie jiu-jitsu lineage. So,
yeah, that's awesome. But but I mean, that's just what it is, right? Yeah. And then, like with me, with the whole slap jiu-jitsu thing, I'm like, dude, I'll just do MMA. Yeah. At least I can use my kicks and hands. But I think it's great to teach that. I think it's great to teach slap jits. Same thing. Go hard to the body, easy to the head. That gives you an idea of what a bar ball gone wrong is all about. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, hey, did you see that video? Jesse what's his name?
Einkamp, where he just stood up.
Yeah, dude. Do you know why that doesn't work? Right? Like, he's completely full of shit.
Okay, so let me think about your question. Let me think about what you would say to why that doesn't work. I think okay, to answer your question how I think you're gonna answer it, he only stood up and got away with it because there was a ref. Is that what you were
Close,
gonna say?
close. Well, he competed against a white belt
Oh,
in a
that
tournament,
okay.
saying
Yeah.
all you need to do is stand up, bro. Why don't you all you need to do is stand up against me? You know,
Yeah.
that's not the
Yeah.
point. Or like a
Yeah.
wrestler.
Once you attach to him, you're not letting go.
Not to mention, what if you're a wrestler? All you're just gonna do is stand up against a wrestler. Their whole point is to put you on your ass. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that video was pure clickbait. It was
And
pure.
to Jesse's credit, he is very good at generating clicks, man. I need to learn a lot from that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Jesse is so good at marketing himself. I give him
Now,
so much credit. I've learned a lot just watching how he does things. Yeah.
yeah,
I do agree with you. I see what you're saying now. I didn't even realize because I need to rewatch the video. I didn't realize he was competing against the white belt. But yeah,
yeah.
if he's
He's
not
competing.
experienced in jiu-jitsu, he would compete in the white
He's
belt
competing
division.
against a white belt saying just stand up. He just needed to compete against somebody else who wouldn't let him just stand up. And what if the guy was doing leg locks and leg reefs and all that stuff? You're not gonna just stand up, dude. Like now, that being said, I loved his video about karate not having kicks and getting it all from Sabat. You know what I mean?
I remember that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was a great video, but his jiu-jitsu video was so full of malarkey. It was such like propaganda. The whole title was BJJ doesn't work. Like, what do you mean it doesn't work? Like, there's a million videos of people using BJJ in a street fight. Like,
Yeah.
what his video should have said was, I proved that against a white belt, I could just disengage a bunch of times and then do a jiu-jitsu choke to actually tap him out. You know, that just irked me so much. But I was like, dude, I'm not going to be that guy who comments on the video and then goes into a whole war and blah blah blah. But I thought that was hilarious. I was like, yeah, just stand up. But yeah, dude. But the martial arts world has been nothing but an amazing experience for me, like learning and figuring out and all that stuff. I really appreciate the time that I've had. And I'm looking forward to, whatever else time I have because it's just been great. I've learned a lot. My ego's taken a nice, good pounding, which is important. You need that, and it's been really interesting kind of watching how people react when they get pressured, because martial art teachers get pressured by students who go in there from a different discipline. You know what I mean? Not somebody who doesn't know anything, So that has been very interesting. It's been watching. And I've had good teachers and bad teachers. And what I've done is I've just been like, okay, everybody's a teacher. So bad teachers have taught me not to do that. I won't do that to my students. I won't do that to myself. You know what I mean? And then good teachers, just take the good examples.
Yeah. And have you had bad students?
Bad students. No, I've just had people who just fell off.
Mm-hmm.
They just quit. It's not for them. So I'll tell you, yeah. I haven't had a bad student. I've had bad sparring partners. You know what I mean? Like there's this guy. I'll keep him nameless. I met him while training with PMA, and he was actually a third dan in Kyokushin and a first dan in Jits as well. And we were getting along well, man. And then we stood up, sparred. We did stand-up spar. And the sparring, he kicked me in a mirror. He had zero control. And he had fought. He's trained some UFC fighters and all this stuff. His sparring was horrible. I gave him an F, just because I'm like, dude, you don't have it. He was saying that I was the one to escalate. I'm like, dude, I'm very controlled all the time. If you're causing me to go hard like that quick, that's on you. I was very surprised. When we rolled, it was a little bit better. But he got all butthurt because I got a little sweep on him. I was like, dude, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
But anyhow. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great journey. I've just kind of I'll share this story with you. So Kyokushin, I just got my black belt. We all went out to dinner and eat. There's this guy from Russia. Actually, he's from Kazakhstan, but he doesn't sound like Borat at all. Sounds just Russian. So we'll say he's Russian. So he is telling one of the other students who's not a black belt, because that student is also doing Goju-Ryu, right? He says, you don't need to go out and learn other styles. Masoyama already did all that. So you just need to study the Masoyama Kyokushin style. I was like, dude, that is the worst advice you could possibly give, right? But that is a great example of a lifer in one system. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still see that comment, dude, under Kyokushin videos. Like they're like, yeah, Maso Ayama did everything, man. Everything you need to learn is in the Kyokushin system. I still see that comment.
I'm like, that is utter horse shit. Like, Kyokushin will help you, but you need to know how to box. You need to know how to grapple. You should probably learn Muay Thai. You should probably get some groundwork.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, if your neck's strong enough, learn a few headbutts too in emergencies.
100%. Oh yeah. I mean, Muay Thai is not the end all. I'm just saying that they have a really good all-around system for kind of getting in the nitty-gritty and it applying to street fighting. But wrestlers beat Muay Thai guys. Just take them to the ground. So, and then jiu-jitsu guys sometimes tap out wrestlers. So round and round we go, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, see, the reason why people don't want to do that, they don't want to go on there, is because that takes a lot more work. And that also means that their teacher, who they're learning from, doesn't in fact have superpowers and can't fly around the room like they try to make them believe. A lot of teachers have that bravado that, yeah, I can do all the things. I'm the best in blood, but you've never actually seen them spar. Like I remember I was asking my original karate teacher from Robukai, hey, let's do some sparring. I'll put on the gear, do some sparring. He says, no, wearing gear is for wimps, and I don't spar because I can't control. I go 100%. You know what that means? It means you suck.
Yeah, that means you suck. Exactly.
That anytime someone says I don't wear gear because that's wussy stuff, or I can't control myself when I spar, that means they're garbage.
Yeah.
And I should have left then, or I should have just adapted the mentality of I'm just here for traditional karate. I don't care about the rest of it. You know what I mean? But at the time, it just really irked me. I was like, I don't understand. Why don't you want to spar? You don't want to look bad. You know what I mean? So and I'm just like, dude, it's not about that. We're just trying to be helping each other.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I forgot to mention. So I right before I moved to Colorado, I got back into capoeira with my boy Shingu, who's a capoeira master. He teaches capoeira, Filipino martial arts, and BJJ. He's a great guy, man. And I've been doing capoeira. I was at his capoeira class, and then I did it via Zoom. I've been doing it via Zoom. It's awesome, though, man. He's such a great dude.
Cool. Does he have a channel? You have to send it to me.
He does not. He does not. But
he's another word of mouth person like you.
Yeah, his name is Zingu, Zingu, and he is a mestre on the capoeira Batuki, and he also does Hollywood.
Oh, he's at Batuki. Okay.
He was. He's the bad boy of capoeira Batuki, right? Because he actually believes that capoeira should be a martial art and it shouldn't just be a show-off fest. So you got two mentalities with capoeira, right?
Yeah.
You have I'm going to show off. This is like step it up, breakdancing. Look at me go. Or you have the one in Brazil was, oh, your foot almost touched my head. I'm going to fucking kill you now.
Yeah.
I'm going to effing, you're going to die, So that was kind of the reason why I was out of capoeira was I didn't like the two mentalities. Either because there's a bunch of hippies in capoeira now. They don't want to have any contact at all. They just want to treat it like a breakdancing battle, and that's bad. Then you have the mentality in Brazil, oh, you wounded my pride, I'm going to kill you now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So Shingu had that great balance between sparring, but not like cracking each other, but letting you know capoeira is a martial art. So that's why I went back into it under him. But I'm not really in the capoeira world. I just do it on my own. So I'm currently teaching a little bit of gymnastics and stuff at a gymnastics gym and tumbling, and capoeira is a big influence on that. So I love their upper body stuff, like having a flexible back and things like that. So big fan, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone watching, this is a good stopping point, and I already linked Paris's channel both in the live chat and in the description, so make sure to go follow him, especially Martial Geeks. I think really like this conversation. So Martial Geeks, make sure to follow Paris's YouTube channel. He's going to be posting much more. He got inspired. So yeah. And also Paris, we should definitely do more of this. It's always fun to talk to you about all this stuff. I mean, as our journeys keep going, we'll have more and more funny stories. And
sounds good, brother. I'll just say this real quick. I separated all my channels. So I've got mixed combat sports. I have a BJJ channel, a Sabat channel, and a Kyokushin channel, and all this stuff. But it's not necessarily listing all of them. As you know, mixed combat sports. If you're for striking stuff, and if you're interested in BJJ, just go to BJJ, bro. All that stuff. But yeah, Jared, it's been awesome. I appreciate it. Also, this is a disclaimer. Everything I said. Anybody listening, don't take this. This is just my opinion. I mean, I could be full of BS. So don't take what I'm saying as this is, you know, the ultimate truth. This is just what I have experienced in my journey that started in 1985. So that's it.
Yeah. And one thing, Paris, remember on your Mixed Combat Sports channel, you can list your other channels too.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure to do that. So just do
Done
that
and done,
whenever you
bro.
have time. That way, if people go to your main channel, they can find your BJJ channel and then your Sabat channel, etc.
You
And
are the
Martial Geeks
master.
just subscribe. That's awesome. Martial Geek just subscribe to Coach Paris's channel. Yeah, he's gonna upload more. Did you get your own camera, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
mean, no, right now I'm keeping it lo-fi, dude.
Okay.
I'm doing this. I'm doing this.
I mean, that's
You know,
fine. That's all you need. The
you
phone's
know.
all you need, man.
I mean,
Like
I'm
the
just
phone
doing
can
shorts.
record a lot of good stuff now.
Yeah, I'm just doing shorts, man. And you
Good.
know, people can find me on my website. You know. Oh, and just so people know, I'm just not a martial artist. I'm a firearms instructor too. Like my martial arts journey, like in '96 when I went to Tai Chi, I was out there to find the Hadouken, find that powerful chi punch, and after all my years of searching, a pistol is the best Hadouken out there.
Well, yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Just there it goes. But no, man, I mean, learn all the weapons. I learned knife, I learned collie, I learned gun, I learned rifle, I learned shotgun. I learned all the things. I mean, we are in the utopia of learning martial arts, right? You can do anything. Online helps a lot. Martial arts will be the last thing to succumb to the online thing because you always need to spar. You always need to box. You always need to kickbox. You always need to roll. You always need to wrestle. And you need a person for that, unless you can afford a AI bot, which is scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I mean, we're there. Like, we're out there. You can learn through Zoom. You can learn through this. Don't just try to be a YouTube warrior with things that require interaction. You know what I mean? Like, get out there, get a teacher, get a Zoom teacher, get an in-person teacher, you know? Like, do the thing, because, I mean, it is the access of information we have now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just great to be here at this crazy time, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, Jerry, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate everything. Thank you for having me on the channel. And I wish you the best. And we can go offline, and I'll tell you some other stories.
Yeah, exactly. For everyone watching, thank you. And everyone that hasn't subscribed to Coach Paris's channel, again, it's in the description. And when this video comes out later, it'll be in the end cards too. So I'll add his channel in the end cards too. So you guys will be able to find it. So remember, Coach Paris, when you have time, just make sure to link all your other channels in your main channel so that people know.
Done.
Okay,
And
guys, everyone.
I should probably do the website too, right?
You two already have the website linked there. So
okay.
yeah, you just have to link the other channels, because right now it's awesome. You feature Graps, which is Johnny Kowalski's stuff, and you feature my channel, which is awesome. But make sure to feature your other channels too.
Done and done, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Coach Paris will be back soon.
All right, take care.
So we'll end the stream and then we'll continue talking.
Got it.
Yep. So now